Hey, what's up YouTube? So today I'm going to talk about some of the game balancing grinding gear games decided to do in their last manifesto. Now, a lot of times these changes aren't like super game breaking, but I feel like this patch or the upcoming 3.14, they intended to flip everything on its head and make everything completely different while removing a lot of key end games. Now, for this video, like if you look at the development manifesto, it's just one wall of text. So I'm gonna put 10 quick points about what got changed and what is actually the biggest effects and what I think about it. So the first we have is fracture fossils. Now this line here did not exist before. Now fracture fossils now cause you to split a map or blueprint, and it results in the split tag on both items. So you cannot make further copies of either item unless a mirror of Calandra is used. This is by far the biggest change in terms of endgame. For PoE, it pretty much means that fractured delirium maps will no longer be a thing. You pretty much will just fracture a map once, and then you'll get a copy of it, and then that original copy is gone. Now, this does not mean that fracture fossils will be worthless. Fracture fossils will still be worth whatever 5 delirium orbs is, because it pretty much just doubles your map, so you can pretty much run 2 maps for the price of 1. Now this is actually a huge nerf because fractured delirium maps is probably one of the main forms of endgame or super endgame that people aspire for. And in addition, in order to do delirium maps now, we're forced to buy orbs. Now buying orbs will not be too bad, but we are forced to use the PoE website to trade for, and I'm pretty sure there are not enough delirium orbs in the game for us to actually run 100% maps consistently. So this is actually a huge change. On a side note, for fracture fossils, you can no longer use fracture mirror services for GG rings, so you can't get like +1 power charge, multi% int, and fracture it and have the original still be intact. Now the next nerf we have here is the nerf to self-curse. Now self-curse is a completely broken build in terms of its strength in when it's being utilized fully, especially when you do 5-ways or any super juiced fracture maps. You can see how big the character is. It has like hundreds of buffs, especially with Valdos. Now they nerfed this by making it so that hexproof applies to yourself now, and that's from the Headhunter mod. So when you get hexproof from the rare mods, wait, I don't even know. Wait, what was the change they did? They basically made it so that hexproof modifiers that allows your hexes to affect hexproof enemies no longer allow your hexes to affect yourself while you have hexproof. Oh, so you can no longer use cost breeze and occultist ascendancy. This pretty much means that as soon as you get hexproof from a Headhunter mod, that you'll lose your temp chain, so self curse is no longer a thing, and it's just been completely removed. This also means that 5-ways will probably be a lot harder to get full rewards from, as self curse no longer exists. Now the next nerf we have here is Chainbreaker. Now Chainbreaker before makes it so that you lose 5 rage when you hit an enemy, and no more than once every 0.3 seconds. And since it's only applied to hits, that means that mines and traps, which technically does not count as you hitting the enemy, it did not trigger the rage loss. But now they changed it so that skills cost +3 rage. This also means that it gets modified by support gems. So something that could have like a 6-link like skill, you would have like 10 rage cost. This pretty much means that Chainbreaker will make it impossible to get like 50 rage at all times, because right now almost every single build, if they can fit it in, will use a lethal pride to get Chainbreaker and free damage from rage and berserk or divergent berserk. And this is actually a pretty big change in terms of making it so that you're pretty much never at full rage anymore, and you pretty much would have to have 1000% mana regen to sustain it. Now the next big change we have is that mine skills now cost both mana cost and mana reservation. And this means that both modifiers to cost and reservations both affect the appropriate cost of mine costs. So Indigon no longer provides spell damage without affecting mine costs at all. So this item, in conjunction of mines with mana scaling was just completely out of line in terms of how much damage you would gain with almost no drawbacks. So this pretty much means that miners can no longer abuse Indigon without the drawback of the increased mana cost of skills. And this is a pretty big change, but miners have got hit like multiple times, or especially the Connie miner, because you also have the Divergent Berserk nerf, which it pretty much just got the old alternate quality aura treatment where I think it went from like 1% to 0.2%, or it was like a factor of 4 or 5 nerf. Now the next big nerf we have is, man, everything is a nerf in this patch. Is that 64% chance for bleeding inflicted with this weapon to deal 100% more damage. So this is the Elder Bleeding mod, and there's also a poison variant of it. So this pretty much means that poisons or bleeds inflicted with this weapon to deal 100% more damage. This mod has been removed from the game. This is a pretty big nerf for skills like Split Arrow, and also some of the more off-meta skills like Pestilence Strike or Viper Strike. And this was pretty much like an unintended consequence because they're trying to add in more physical damage over time multipliers for the new skills like Reap and what's it called? Sanguinate. And people did say this mod was really broken because with this mod you pretty much just dealt double damage, and the mod was just too strong. So it's pretty much a balancing tune, but these builds were not like super out of line, and it also makes the off meta poison variants of this a lot less viable. So I'm not the biggest fan of this change, but the mod was definitely way too powerful. The next nerf we have is probably one of the bigger ones, or the biggest one in terms of how the end game clear speed will be affected. Now most builds nowadays are pretty much just a character to enable explode. So your skill is just whatever's the best skill to make the explode chain. And a lot of people do not like the playstyle because it's not really about the skill that you use, but it's about having this mod on your chest. So this mod is now changed along with the synthesis mods on weapons to be a chance to explode rather than a guaranteed chance, but in exchange is 10% of the life as physical damage. Now right now we don't really know what the chance is, but GGG has stated that they wanted us to probably stack the chance rather than just being able to get a guaranteed 100%. Now what this means is that impulses will probably be a lot more valuable, and maybe the Asenath's gloves, depending on how it's changed. But this change is huge. It pretty much will slow down the whole clear speed meta that we'll see today, and it will be a pretty big difference in endgame map clearing speed. Next skill that or thing that we have is the poison sextant. Now if you look at this video here, you can clearly see that this build is actually a pretty budget build, but look how fast it's running. Now the way that a self poison sextant works is that you poison yourself, and for every stack of poison you gain like some move speed. You can get up to like 1000 move speed or something, and it was just a very cheap way to do like 100% delirium map. So you could do a 100% delirium map on like a 10 chaos or 20 chaos budget. And I'm glad this is nerfed because this was just too much power for a small gain, and it was also really annoying to roll the poison sextant on every 3 maps or so. The next big changes we have are the skill balance changes, and these are pretty much just adjustments on the numbers for skills that have a large representation. So they mentioned that the skills they wanted to touch on were Blade Vortex, Blade Blast, Toxic Rain, General's Cry of channeled skills, Seismic Cry, which will affect a lot of slam builds, and Carrion Golems. Yet again, because Carrion Golems got nerfed by like, I think 10 to 20% lastly. And Vitality was kind of too strong because of how much life regen it was giving us at the start. They also want to nerf Frostbomb and Wave of Conviction's exposure values because it was giving us too much resistance pen. And Flesh of Stone has also been changed to be a 35% mana reservation instead of 25. This is actually pretty big for a lot of melee builds because we were already super capped on mana in order to run all the auras we needed. So this will probably make like running all the auras a lot harder. Now these changes are probably just small numerical changes, and the really OP skills like Blade Fall, Blade Blast will probably still be a problem. And who knows how big the Seismic Cry nerf, but this could finally nerf the slams. And next we also have Vaal skills. Now this is actually something that's not really a nerf. The only buff in this whole manifesto is this, and it's a pretty big one. So it means that soul gain prevention time for skills that don't have a duration tag is 1 second. So Vaal Fireballs soul gain prevention time used to be 5 seconds. So if it's 1 second in conjunction with the Soul Ripper Flask, it can get down to 0.6 seconds. Now this will probably allow Vaal Fireball builds or other Vaal skill builds where you just spam the Vaal skill and instantly get back to souls to exist again. And this is a pretty fun, fun playstyle. Like I can show you a video real fast here. Vaal Fireball Strand. Now if you thought that the clear speed meta was dead, this is what the clear speed used to look like with Vaal Fireball. And this is definitely a skill that you could see a resurgence in. Or not resurgence in, but it could be played again. And I think it's actually going to shape the meta for upcoming 3.14 once people get deeper into the league and are searching for the fastest clear speed builds. Now, lastly, this is the last big change. It's not like the biggest one, but it still kind of lessens the impact of getting high awakening bonus. So right now, if you look at the awakening objective, we have a 6% additional chance to receive an Atlas mission, and this increases by 1% every 15. So at the highest, you would have 10% additional chance to receive an Atlas mission. Now, GGG did not like this because we were having too much fun. We were being able to get infinite master missions, and we were able to spam Zana to get harvest. So in order to nerf this, they removed the bonus objective, the chance to get an additional Atlas mission when completing a map. So now we have to completely rely on like Secrets of the Stone. Or wait, it's close allies. Areas have 10% chance to grant an Atlas mission on completion. So this is kind of a bad change because it really makes it so that awakening objective is pretty useless. So the only thing that awakening objective does is increase the effective modifiers on your maps. Now that's not like a bad thing, but they pretty much just do not like that we got too many master missions, and this will make Zana farming a lot more annoying with harvest. But this change is not going to be too bad, but it's definitely going to be a noticeable difference in the end game play style. Now, overall, what do I think of all these changes that they had? These changes will shake up the meta in a way that, or the end game meta in a way that we haven't seen in a while. Like self-curse builds being gone, and also explode being gone will make builds power a lot weaker than before for farming the end game maps. Also, fracture map farming being gone is also a bad thing in my opinion, because we will be unable to actually do delirium maps anymore, because I do not think that there will be enough delirium orbs to support the supply of people who will want to do it. Because delirium orbs are actually insanely rare. Like lastly, when I tried to farm like 80% delirium maps from trying to buy delirium orbs, it was actually very hard to buy it in bulk at all. And that's more of a byproduct of the trade system being bad and not being able to buy mapping supplies very easily. Like buying mapping supplies is anti-fun, and increasing the amount of work we have to do a map is just, I think, bad gameplay design until they fix the trading issues in the game. And a lot of stuff did get nerfed in skills, but that's just how it is. And there'll be new builds that will be powerful, and the old ones that were super meta, like Akani Miner and Self-Curse BV, will just be gone pretty much, and it'll be replaced by new ones, and hopefully new ones with new skills. But we'll have to see how the new skills pan out, because right now it's kind of up in the air before the patch notes. Now the Vaal skill changes will be a pretty big shake up of the meta, because I feel like Vaal skills like Vaal Fireball could make a comeback, and that's actually what I'm most excited for. But in the end, I feel like a lot of the end game content has been removed from the game in terms of 100% delirium maps and deep delving. I feel like deep delving will be a lot less worthwhile with how cheap fracture fossils might be. Now, fracture fossils won't be useless, but it's definitely not going to have as many use cases as before, where people were just fracture fossiling maps like crazy and using fracture fossils for fracture services for rings and helmets. But basically, that's all my thoughts about the changes, and I hope this video summed up all the changes. I try to include all the meaningful ones. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and check out my Twitch channel. I'll be probably league starting as Stormblast or Storm Brand. Yeah, I'm testing a character right now. Storm Brand into Aura Stacker, so go check it out, and I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.